Now my favorite part about this vehicle is the fact that it's so small that I can lean over and turn down my passenger's window. So here we are driving Canada's most inexpensive car, the brand new 2015 Nissan Micra. The Micra starts at just under $10,000, which has made it extremely affordable to get your hands on a four-door car. For $10,000, you don't get two doors, you get four doors and the capability of fitting 5 people in it. We are in the mid-range Micra SV, which starts at $13,700. The Micra S is the cheapest, which starts just a tick below $10,000, and the top of the line is the SR, which starts at $15,800. Now when it comes right down to it, trim levels to me don't really matter while trying to get a good sense of how good this car really is. Because no matter which trim level you get, you're still getting the same engine, same amount of room inside, and pretty much the same car all around. Powering this little guy is a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine, which has 109 horsepower and 107 foot-pounds of torque. That doesn't sound a lot because it's not, but it's, again, it's a very small car, and that amount of horsepower and torque seems pretty adequate for a car this size. Now, we got our foot in it. It's a little loud merging onto the highway, but as soon as you let your foot off and there's no more engine noise, the Catman's actually decently quiet for something that's this inexpensive and this small. You can hear a little bit of road noise from the tires, a little bit of wind noise that you're pushing up against, but it's actually pretty quiet. Like I thought it would be a lot louder than it actually is. Now this SV comes with an automatic transmission, which is why it's also more expensive. The automatic transmission is basically a $4,000 upgrade. So if you're willing to learn how to drive a manual, or if you already know how to drive a manual, that gives you the ability to spend $10,000. However, if you want to be a little more comfortable in the summer, say with air conditioning, you're going to have to spend $4,000 more than your base level S. That's a shame, because if I could buy a $10,000 Micra with a manual transmission and say add the option of air conditioning for $200, I would say that this is a nearly perfect deal. But they make you spend a little more money than I'd want to in order to get that air conditioning. So what's it like to drive the cheapest car in Canada? Well, it doesn't feel like the cheapest car in Canada. Cheap isn't the right word, inexpensive. It is the most inexpensive car in Canada, but it doesn't feel like the cheapest. Sure, the interior is quite simple, the cluster is pretty basic, doesn't give you too much information, not a lot to look at, just everything you need. The stereo system that it comes with really doesn't sound all that great. It is a stereo and it will play sound, but it's nothing to write home about. The climate control is super simple. They give you nice dials that feel like they're gonna last and really isn't that complicated to use. Now I'm about 5'11" and these seats feel fine for me. I drove about 2 hours in a straight stretch and I didn't get uncomfortable once. Now yeah, it can fit 5 people, but that back seat is just as narrow as the front. Now you're basically touching shoulders just with 2 guys back there. Now it could fit 3, but it would be super tight for anyone bigger than a child. But for 3 children, I think it would do just fine. Now like I said, I'm 5'11". Right now the driver's seat is set for me, and as you can see, I have a decent amount of room in the back. I mean, you certainly can't stretch your legs that far out, but if you tuck your toes under the seat, you actually have about an inch or 2 with your knees. That's really not that bad for a car this size. In fact, it's better than most. For a small car, the suspension feels pretty good. It doesn't feel tinny, it feels pretty sturdy. Obviously, it's a small wheelbase, so you are gonna feel bumps a little more than something with a longer wheelbase. But it actually handles it pretty well. And the fact that it is so small, you can zip around corners and city driving is a breeze. It's not hard to parallel park this thing. Now this SV trim does have a backup camera, but if you can't back this car up, we have an issue. So all in all, for a roughly $10,000 car, this Micra has won me over. Nissan has drastically changed the competition in the small car segment. This little guy's a sweetheart, and if you're willing to give up a couple options and have something like a manual transmission, you can very well get inside a very adequate car for only $10,000. Thank you, Nissan, for giving us the Micra.